The choices you're making right now about your diet and daily habits are determining whether your 80s will be spent enjoying time with grandkids or confined to a hospital bed connected to medical equipment. This isn't an overstatement. At 99 years of age, I have dedicated 55 years to researching precisely how our eating patterns and way of living impact whether we enjoy lengthy, healthy existences or perish far too early. The evidence is undeniable. The solutions are known. We've understood this for decades. The challenge isn't the research. The challenge is that people aren't paying attention. My name is Marcus Brennan. For 45 years, I served as a professor in nutritional biochemistry at the University of Pennsylvania. My career includes over 340 published research papers. I've mentored 60 doctorate candidates. I've appeared before government committees to present what our findings demonstrate. Right now, I'm going to share with you the 8 most critical factors for achieving longevity while avoiding the trap of spending your final 2 decades in poor health. These aren't personal viewpoints. These are determinations based on thousands of research studies across 50 years. If you disregard everything else presented today, don't disregard this. But let me first explain why I'm certain this approach succeeds. Back in 1949, my father suddenly died from cardiac arrest. His age was just 52. Every single morning of his adult years, he consumed bacon with eggs. He enjoyed his pipe tobacco. Each evening following work, he settled into his armchair. His lifestyle wasn't abnormal for that era. That's simply how men existed. 22 years afterward, my brother Thomas died identically. Cardiac arrest. He'd reached 58. By 1971, I'd turned 44. My weight had climbed to 215 pounds, despite standing only 5 feet 10 inches. My cholesterol measured 280. I recall my physician's appointment where he stated that without altering my current path, I'd probably join my father and brother in death within a decade. I was raising 2 small children. My wife meant everything to me. My professional work was finally gaining significance, yet I was being warned that I was following the identical path that claimed the 2 men I respected above all others. Therefore, I transformed myself. Over 2 years, I shed 45 pounds. Each morning, I began walking 3 miles. My diet shifted away from most animal proteins. Alcohol consumption ceased. Every available resource about nutrition and illness became my reading material. The following half-century was spent researching this field professionally. Today, I'm 99. I've survived 47 years beyond my father's lifespan. I've lived 41 years past my brother's death, and I remain here. Every morning still brings journal reading. Walking continues. Mental sharpness persists enough to convey exactly what research demonstrates. Now here are those 8 essential elements. Listen with care. Element 1 involves movement, not structured exercise. Movement. The fitness sector wants everyone convinced they require gym contracts and professional coaching, along with cardiac monitoring devices. That's unnecessary. What's required is daily body movement in ways that come naturally. Walking works, gardening works, stairways instead of elevators, carrying your own shopping bags. The populations with greatest longevity aren't practicing CrossFit. They're walking to neighboring houses. They're maintaining their gardens. They're ascending hillsides because that's their transportation method between locations. Research supporting this is remarkable. A Jerusalem study tracking nearly 2,000 senior citizens revealed that physically active individuals at 70 experienced mortality rates, half those of inactive counterparts over 8 years. Half the rate. Here's the truly significant finding. Individuals who initiated activity between ages 70 and 78 continued experiencing substantial benefits. Beginning movement is never too late until death arrives, so incorporate movement daily, not hour-long gym sessions. Simply move throughout life as your physical design intended. Element 2 centers on plant consumption. The most consistent discovery throughout longevity science shows that predominantly plant-eating populations outlive predominantly animal-eating populations with better health. This holds true in Okinawa. This applies to Sardinia. This proves accurate in Loma Linda, California. Every studied blue zone confirms this pattern. The World Health Organization understands this. The American Heart Association acknowledges this. The European Cardiology Society recognizes this. Cardiovascular disease at 80%, strokes at 80%, type 2 diabetes approaching 90%. Lifestyle modifications emphasizing increased plant intake with reduced animal product consumption can prevent these conditions. I'm not suggesting monastic living. I'm presenting what data reveals. Increase vegetable intake, consume more legumes, eat additional whole grains, decrease meat consumption. When consuming meat, treat it as accompaniment, not the meal's foundation. Earth's longest living populations consume meat perhaps 4 or 5 occasions monthly, not daily monthly. Element 3 involves ceasing consumption before satiation. Okinawans express this concept with a phrase. They term it hara hachibu. The meaning is stopping at 80% fullness. This isn't mystical Asian philosophy. This represents caloric limitation, among the most strongly validated longevity interventions throughout biological science. Consuming less than desired, yet more than minimally required, permits cellular transition from proliferation mode into maintenance mode. Inflammation decreases, oxidative damage diminishes. Lifespan extends in every studied organism, spanning yeast through worms, through mice, through primates. Calorie counting isn't necessary. Food weighing isn't required. Simply cease eating several bites prior to complete satisfaction. Consume your largest portion early daily. Your smallest portion belongs in the evening hours, then stop all eating overnight. This matches our evolutionary digestive design. The perpetual snacking that contemporary food corporations promote is gradually destroying us. Element 4 addresses sugar. This requires your complete attention. Across decades, food corporations insisted that fat represented the threat. That was intentional deception financed by sugar corporations to redirect attention from their own offerings. Reality shows that added sugars, especially the industrial volumes present in processed items and drinks, constitute primary contributors to cardiovascular illness, diabetes, excess weight, and premature mortality. Research from the Centers for Disease Control alongside Harvard determined that individuals obtaining 25% or more daily calories from added sugars faced nearly triple the cardiac death likelihood compared to those consuming under 10%. Triple the risk. This correlation persisted independent of body mass, age, gender, or activity levels. Sugar isn't merely increasing body fat. Sugar damages cardiac tissue, hepatic function, vascular systems. Average Americans ingest over 70 pounds of added sugar annually. That constitutes toxicity. No alternative description fits. Eliminate added sugar, eliminate carbonated drinks, eliminate confections, eliminate manufactured foods concealing sugar behind 50 various names. Your physiology requires zero added sugar, absolutely none. All necessary glucose can be synthesized from complex carbohydrate sources. Added sugar functions as an addictive substance, and we've transformed into a dependent population. Element 5 concerns alcohol. I recognize this contradicts preferences. For years, guidance suggested moderate consumption, perhaps 1 or 2 wine servings daily, actually benefited health. Current evidence indicates we were mistaken. A comprehensive study sponsored by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation examined 195 nations and determined that alcohol consumption levels minimizing overall mortality risk equals 0. 0 wine servings, 0 beer portions, 0 mixed drinks. Some nuance exists here. For individuals past 40 without existing health complications, minimal alcohol quantities might offer modest cardiac protection, yet that advantage gets completely negated by elevated cancer risk, hepatic disease, accidents, and numerous additional mortality causes. The principal researcher, David Patterson, himself enjoyed social drinking. He stated the data forced reconsideration of his own patterns. My alcohol consumption ended entirely 4 decades ago. I experienced no loss. Element 6 addresses tobacco. I nearly omitted this given its apparent obviousness, but teaching experience proved that obvious points require stating. Tobacco consumption remains the largest preventable mortality source throughout industrialized societies. For smokers, nothing previously mentioned carries equal importance to cessation. For non-smokers, never begin. For anyone loving a smoker, present them the evidence. Pulmonary cancer, cardiac illness, cerebrovascular events, chronic respiratory obstruction. The catalog continues. My father enjoyed his pipe. I sometimes wonder whether that truly ended his life. Element 7 emphasizes connection. Human beings evolved as communal creatures. We developed within tribal structures. Our neural architecture requires direct contact, communal dining, physical contact, community belonging. The most isolated individuals die youngest. That's not poetic language. That's epidemiological fact. Loneliness poses health dangers equivalent to smoking 15 daily cigarettes. Social disconnection elevates cardiac disease risk, cerebrovascular events, cognitive decline, and early mortality. Okinawans practice something termed moai. These constitute social networks forming during youth continuing throughout existence. One moai that scientists examined had convened together for 97 years. Member ages averaged 102. Daily gatherings involved conversation, sake sharing, mutual care. When someone failed appearing, others visited that person's residence to investigate. That represents genuine human necessity, not internet followers, authentic individuals, authentic bonds, authentic community. My wife Catherine and I shared 61 married years. She passed 7 years back at 94. We walked together each morning exceeding 50 years. We shared every meal. We read literature together. We experienced conflicts and reconciliations and aged together. Following her death, I finally comprehended what loneliness research actually described. Identify your community, maintain closeness. Your survival depends upon it. Element 8 involves purpose. Okinawans term it ikigai. Costa Ricans call it plan de vida. Scientists describe it as possessing motivation for daily awakening. Research consistently demonstrates that individuals perceiving life meaning live longer than those without such perception. This transcends professional achievement or social status. This concerns feeling your days hold significance, that you're providing contribution, that you haven't completed whatever purpose brought you here. At 99 years, I continue reading journals each morning. I maintain correspondence with former students. I continue writing. Doctoral students still contact me seeking guidance. Upon waking, I understand my daily activities and comprehend their importance. That represents purpose. Grandeur isn't required. World transformation isn't necessary. Personal meaning suffices. So here they stand. 8 essential elements. Move daily. Consume primarily plants. Stop eating prior to fullness. Eliminate sugar. Remove or dramatically reduce alcohol. Avoid tobacco. Maintain human connections. Possess reasons for morning awakening. None of this presents complexity. None requires costly supplements or miraculous treatments or hidden wisdom. This represents 50 years of scientific communication. The difficulty is that truth lacks promotional funding. Truth doesn't finance television advertising. Truth enriches nobody. I sometimes contemplate my father. He died at 52, younger than some current viewers. He never accessed my current knowledge. The research that could have preserved his life remained unavailable to him. His diet matched his parents' patterns. His lifestyle mirrored his neighbors' choices. No reason existed to suspect it was fatal until too late. You lack that justification. You're viewing this through devices accessing humanity's complete medical knowledge accumulation. Every mentioned study remains accessible for verification. You can personally examine the journals. You can learn precisely what Earth's longest living populations practice differently than others. The information isn't concealed. Cost presents no barrier. It's immediately available. The sole question involves whether you'll act upon it. I've reached 99 years. I've survived 47 years past my father's death. I've outlived my brother by 41 years. I've witnessed grandchildren mature. I've embraced great-grandchildren. I've experienced 55 additional years of reading and walking and contemplation and affection beyond what continuing my 44-year-old lifestyle would have permitted. This doesn't concern immortality. Death awaits everyone. My death approaches, likely soon, but my death arrives having lived completely until conclusion. I'll die without decades spent in medical facilities and care institutions and persistent suffering. I'll die having extracted every quality year this physical form could provide. That's my desire for you. Not endless existence, simply all the years rightfully yours. All the years that misleading information and destructive patterns and harmful food are currently stealing from you today, while change remains possible. Implement changes today, not eventually, not following celebrations, not when circumstances calm. Today. Your future self will express gratitude provided you allow that future self existence opportunity.